I think most of you know Colonel Gentile. He's ACSC commander and also the Officer E-School, actually he's the Commandant and over Officer E-School training also. And so I asked him specifically to be the closer for this because he's excited about this stuff as I am. And it doesn't do you any good to hear from me. You want to hear from the big man, the man that has actually he's a champion at Air University. So I'm going to ask him a couple questions, and we're going to start simply with this. Colonel Brown had talked just a while ago about kind of her vision for bringing technologies into PME. Do you have a different vision? Is your vision the same? How does it differ? Can you address that?
I don't think it's different. We've been talking a lot about it, and I know she talked a lot about the classroom of the future. And I think before you can even start to have a conversation about the classroom of the future, you got to actually talk about the curriculum of the future. And how do you transfer knowledge? And I really love that presentation. It said that training and education is all about the transfer of knowledge. And that has changed dramatically in the last 10 to 15 years. Right. And I'd say probably even more so in the last 3. You start to apply Moore's law with electronics. You can see, 3 years ago when I started to get involved with virtual reality, it was really rudimentary. And now it's so lifelike. A couple weeks ago, and Dr. Ali was there, so he'll attest to this. I'm on a virtual reality headset inside a Lancaster bomber bombing Berlin, and I'm down on my hands and knees crawling from the cockpit back to the bombardier's area to see what he's doing, and then I'm flinching when the flak's going off. Why is that stuff so critical? It's about the experience, and being able to gain experience accelerates learning. And this is not, and I think this is important to reinforce, this is not a replacement for books. Right. It's additive. I watch my children and how their school is set up now. They have reading, but they also have videos that are associated with that, along with the classroom. It's not that the videos replace the reading or the classroom, it's additive technology. And virtual reality, augmented reality will be the same. But I think as we move forward with this, and we're seeing this across the entire Department of Defense, when you are talking proprietary information, proprietary devices, that complicates the problem set. It really needs to be available on any device. Whatever device the learner wants, it needs to be able to be accessed on that for that truly learner-centric environment. And so whether that's an Apple product, an IBM product, or something else, it's just got to be able to be interactive. And so that's why I really thought the MOTAR piece was really fascinating. Right. They can connect all those different devices and kind of get, not get past the proprietary, but find a way to be collaborative in that proprietary information environment. And I fully understand, why we have proprietary information. Looking at the learning management systems, those are critical so that you as an instructor have the ability to really identify where each student is strong and also where they need some additional attention. Again, as we start to look at how do we accelerate learning, you need to move on quickly from an area where somebody is strong and dedicate those critical moments, that critical time, to the areas where that individual is having a tough time. With the last couple of presentations, what I see with those is augmented reality, the last presentation here with the different devices. You mentioned joint all-domain operations. Right. We've talked about being joint as a Department of Defense since 1986 and the Goldwater-Nichols Act. And I'll tell you, a lot of times we're joint in name only. A lot of times we still tend to operate in our individual domains, but we all understand that we can't operate like that anymore. You see the way the Russians are operating with their small forces in Georgia, Crimea, Syria. Right. You see the way that the Chinese operated very quickly on the border with India. We have to find a way to work truly as a joint force. to do that, you have to understand it. And one of the reasons I joined was so difficult for so long is, my first 10 years in the Air Force, I spent in tactical aviation, and I understood that very, very well. And it wasn't until I went to the Naval War College that I started to understand the maritime environment.
Right.
And then when I went to SDE up at Leavenworth, I really started to understand the land environment and how that all combined together. But that's 2 decades. We don't have that kind of time anymore. Sure. We need to be able to accelerate the learning for our younger airmen, our younger soldiers, Marines, space professionals, sailors, et cetera. And to do that, you've got to be able to introduce them to those environments earlier in their career in a way that they can start to make sense of it all. And that's really what it comes down to. It's all about sense making with complex information. When I look at what are we doing in Air Command and Staff College that we could really utilize this technology, it's in joint warfighting. It's gonna be in our spring elective where we start talking, we've set the foundation. We talk about war theory, we talk about air power, we talk about international relations. Now we get to joint warfighting. And how do you take the best of what the Navy has to offer, the Army, Marines, Air Force, et cetera, and combine that all together to affect the battlefield?
Right.
And that could be something in the cyber realm or in the space realm, undersea, but it's hard to envision. If you have a tool, an augmented reality tool, where you could put the headset on and we can put these pieces together and show how this plays out, folks can start to really understand it. And that's the most important thing, is that we've got to be able to help our folks understand this complex information faster than 2 decades.
So would you say that by using these new technologies, it's going to develop a new generation of leaders?
Yes.
That maybe could not be, I shouldn't say couldn't be leading, but may not be as strong leading if they were just going by books, but now they have this immersive technology. Do you think it's gonna build up these leaders quicker, faster, more deployable?
Absolutely. Yeah, again, you look at, if we're looking at producing, educating joint officers, mm-hmm. You've got to understand all those domains. Right. And it takes a long time to understand space. And if you can use some sort of tool that somebody can see it, mm-hmm. They mentioned how much faster somebody learns right. by seeing a visual. Mm-hmm. Now you're seeing it in real time, where you're in the headset. Mm-hmm. You've got a headset on, or you're looking through your iPad. Sure. That really starts to make those connections.
So it is proven, as Colonel Edwards had talked about, by using the video training to get in the A320 faster, yes. and he's more confident when he gets into the cockpit. Let me tell you, that's a great thing if you're flying on his plane.
That's correct.
And so if we can bring that into the classrooms here today, and it doesn't even need to be in the classroom, sir. It could be in the field, as we saw Absolutely. With Augmenter and Imitate. It could be anywhere that we can use these kind of technologies. So we talked about the classroom of the future. It's a fuzzy phrase.
It is.
People throw it around. In fact, you have a classroom of the future kind of challenge going on right now at ACSC. How do we really get there? Let's just put the classroom of the future away and let's just say we need to improve the way we teach. How do we get there? What's the next step? What do you think?
The first part is understanding all the different technologies and tools that are out there. Mm-hmm. You've got to start with that, and you've got to let your imagination run. Once you start to let your imagination run, you start to say, hey, I can see how that would work over here. Mm-hmm. Like Bevilacqua's glasses, I could see how that could have a benefit in helping to accelerate how quickly somebody consumes something as complicated as Clausewitz or Sun Tzu, right? That's important, shrinking time. Mm-hmm. Then once you start to envision where this could go, now you have to start on a path, and you have to kind of start small. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. We're taking 2 classrooms, and we're gonna go get different technologies. And it's not all, when I say technologies, it doesn't necessarily mean a virtual reality headset or an augmented reality headset. It could be something as simple as, hey, we want a different table and chair that is more ergonomically correct, that allows us to reconfigure the room quickly so that we can go from a 12-person seminar down to 4 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 4 with minimal reconfiguration time. Or hey, you got the ability to draw on your desks or up on the walls. As we see down at MGMWERX, you've got some great walls down there that we're going to try to. We want to get some of those so that we get into joint warfighting or any of these other exercises, we can magnetize things, we can write, we can really start to let the free flow of information and ideas occur, right? This is about instructors teaching students, students teaching each other, and students teaching instructors, right? It's this constant pyramid of learning. And so that's really where we're going. So we're just going to start small, figure out what works, and keep trying. That's the other thing that we've learned in the last 3 years. We've got to be willing to try something and go, hey, that didn't quite work out the way we thought it was going to. And then you've got to go back and you've really got to take a hard look at it and say, why didn't it work? Did it work because the technology is still in its nascent stage and we need to improve the technology? Did it not work because we didn't fully understand it and we didn't incorporate it properly into our syllabus, into our education? Or is it just a technology that it isn't really panning out the way we thought it was? And that you have to take that hard look and then figure out what you do next. But it's a constant move. But as they set up on the it was Schottky, I think it was they were training KC-10 pilots 2 years ago on the same technology that they were using in the 1980s. Is anybody in the world using the same technology they were using in the 1980s? How many people are driving a car from the 1980s? Right? But we're doing the same things. And so it's a willingness to be able to move forward and try something different.
So when I took the folks that spoke today, I took them through MGMWERX yesterday, and the thing that caught their interest was the ability to write on the tables. Couple bucks.
I know. It doesn't.
We're not talking millions of dollars here.
Right, but it's a different technology, right? You wouldn't do that on this table, right? But the tables you guys have there, it works. Yeah,
they love it, and they're modular and moving around. So with that said, you and I had talked in the past that one of the next ways forward could be by using the AFWERX model of creating focus areas. So AFWERX, through the SIBR program, is able to fund focus areas. And so would you say that maybe we need to come up corporately, Air University and out in the field, need to come up with some focus areas and let AFWERX take that, socialize it, and find the companies that can maybe do those things, and then come back so we can see what's really out there?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. You talked a lot about, it talked a lot about joint warfighting and the war games. Helping the entire Department of Defense understand modern day battles, how that's going to play out, I think is critical. And so, and it shouldn't just be limited to the folks that come to Air University in residence. We have 80% of the force that does not come to Air University in residence. So we've got to be able to provide the same level of education to them using different tools. And again, these tools that we just talked about, they don't have to just be used here at Air University. They could be used anywhere.
Absolutely.
And really, when you're looking at what's going on right now with COVID-19 for the last 6 months or so, with the different, virtual in residence, local versus remote, having some of these tools would accelerate the learning in that particular environment.
Absolutely. And so the Microsofts, the Googles, and others, you can see how competitive they are when it comes to these online tools, because they're constantly updating and going against each other. Right? So they see a need, the business community sees a need, we need to also grasp that we have a need. And again, I go back to those AFWERX focus areas. So I will tell you that in November, we'd like to have an AFWERX focus group. And at that time, we'd like to have folks from all over Air University, whoever wants to come, and we'll put some focus areas down in a paragraph or two. That's all we have to do. And we'd like to submit those to AFWERX for funding through a SIBR Phase 1 or a SIBR Phase 2. So that is where I'd like to go next, because I would hate to have this and then just walk away.
Absolutely.
So let's find a way to continue to move forward. Colonel, do you have anything else you want to add before we close?
I just want to thank all the folks in the industry coming out and everybody who came out from Air University today. Again, it's thinking about what does the future of our curriculum look like 5 years, 10 years from now? And then matching up, what does our classroom look like 5 years, 10 years from now to make sure that we continue to be the world's best PME institution.
Absolutely. And I'd like to close by saying thank you very much for coming out today. Thank you for all the online viewers that are going to be out there. And I want to thank our staff at MGMWERX. I want to thank Joyce, Janoshua, Joy, we're all starting with J's, Steve, and I want to thank myself too. Thank you for all of us. And I also want to thank Chris, codenamed Viper, for all his support today too. So ladies and gentlemen, this is MGMWERX, this is Air University, and this has been the PME Future Technology Showcase. Thank you very much for attending today. Have a great day.